My dear brothers and sisters, every moment you've lived, every joy, every trial, every tear has been part of a greater plan. You were never being left behind. You were being moved forward quietly and purposefully toward a life that is better, brighter, and filled with blessings you cannot yet imagine. What felt like loss was preparation. What felt like delay was protection. And what felt like endings were actually new beginnings. There comes a time in every person's life when everything begins to shift. The people you once relied on begin to drift away. The places that once brought you comfort start to feel unfamiliar. And the plans you once thought were certain begin to fall apart. It feels as if the ground beneath you is moving, as if something invisible is changing the entire course of your journey. You question why things are happening the way they are, and the confusion begins to weigh heavily on your heart. But in that very confusion lies a secret. You are being moved, not by coincidence, not by chance, but by a divine hand guiding you towards something greater than you can currently see. A divine transition is not something we can always recognize in the moment. When life begins to shift, our first reaction is usually fear or frustration. We ask, why me? Or what did I do wrong? But what we fail to see is that change is often the answer to a prayer we once made. You might have prayed for peace, and suddenly chaos came. You might have prayed for strength, and suddenly everything started to test you. You might have asked for a better future, and suddenly the life you knew began to crumble. It's not because you were ignored. It's because your prayer was heard, and the path to your new life required a transformation. Sometimes we are too attached to our current comfort to realize that it's keeping us from what's next. The divine transition happens to separate you from what no longer serves your purpose. It is a process of gentle detachment, a divine rearrangement that removes the people, habits, and environments that can't go where you're headed. The difficulty of this stage is that it feels like loss, but it's actually preparation. Just like a seed must break through its shell to grow, your life must break through its current form to reach a higher state of existence. You see, the Creator never takes without replacing. He never ends a chapter without writing a new one. But between those 2 points, between what was and what will be, there is a silence, there is uncertainty. That silence is where faith is tested. You may not hear answers, you may not see progress, and it may feel like you are stuck in a painful waiting room. But even that waiting has purpose. It's where your soul grows, where your patience strengthens, and where your trust deepens. A divine transition often starts with discomfort, because comfort is the enemy of growth. You were never meant to stay in the same place forever. The very things that once felt safe begin to feel small, because your destiny is calling you beyond them. You might lose people you thought you could never live without, but what you're gaining is alignment with your true path. You might walk away from a job, a relationship, or a dream that no longer fulfills you, but that space is being cleared for something far greater. During the transition, you will be tested, your faith, your resilience, your patience. But every test is a sign that you're being trusted with something bigger. The pain you feel is not without purpose. It's shaping you, humbling you, and preparing you to receive the very life you've been praying for. The same way a butterfly must struggle in its cocoon before it can fly, you too must endure the struggle before your wings unfold. You must understand, when you are being moved by divine wisdom, it's not always going to look like progress. Sometimes it looks like loss. Sometimes it feels like you're going backward. But that's only because you're being redirected to a better path. What seems like a delay is often protection. What seems like rejection is often a hidden blessing. The transitions you go through are never random. They are customized for your soul's growth. In those moments when you feel lost, remind yourself, you're not being punished, You're being positioned. Every difficulty you face is a bridge to something new. Every disappointment is closing one door so that a better one can open. You are being moved from confusion to clarity, from dependency to strength, from chaos to peace. This movement is not easy, but it is sacred. It means that your old chapter has served its purpose, and now it's time for a new beginning. So trust the process, even when it's painful. Trust that you are being guided by a wisdom greater than your own. Trust that every step, no matter how uncertain, is leading you to a life more aligned with your soul. Because in the end, this divine transition isn't about losing, it's about becoming. And when you finally arrive at that new place, you'll look back and realize that every tear, every test, every closed door was necessary. You weren't falling apart. You were being moved beautifully, purposefully, divinely, into a new life written just for you. There are moments in life when pain becomes so deep that it feels unbearable. You wake up with a heavy heart, wondering why things had to turn out this way. The people you trusted the most may have disappointed you. The plans you built your hopes on may have collapsed, and the prayers you've repeated for so long may still seem unanswered. It's in these moments that doubt tries to whisper, telling you that you've been forgotten or that your efforts were in vain. But what you don't see is the hidden mercy behind every trial, the unseen kindness in every heartbreak, and the quiet love behind every delay. Sometimes the most painful experiences are the ones that carry the greatest blessings. You may not understand it now, but pain has a purpose. It refines you, it softens your heart. It strips away the illusions that distract you from what truly matters. When everything around you seems to fall apart, it's often because something greater is being built within you. The mercy of the divine is not always gentle. Sometimes it comes disguised as hardship. What feels like destruction is often construction in disguise. The rebuilding of your faith, your strength, and your purpose. When you go through trials, you are not being punished, you are being prepared. You are being molded into a stronger, wiser, and more humble version of yourself. If life were always easy, your soul would never grow. The rain that falls is the same rain that allows the soil to bloom. Likewise, the tears you cry are watering the seeds of your future peace. The pain you feel today is shaping the strength you will need tomorrow. Every hardship carries hidden mercy. You just have to learn to look beyond the surface. It's easy to thank the Creator when life is smooth, but the real faith is built when everything is taken away and you still whisper, "I trust you." That's when you move from believing with your lips to believing with your heart. Trials are the moments when the unseen world speaks louder than the visible one. When everything is uncertain, that's when you learn to depend completely. Not on people, not on plans, but on the one who never fails. You see, mercy doesn't always mean comfort. Sometimes, mercy is removing the things that were quietly destroying you. Mercy is protecting you from what you thought you wanted. Mercy is delaying something because it wasn't yet time. Mercy is allowing a heartbreak that saves you from a lifetime of regret. But we only see the surface. We see what was taken, not what was prevented. We feel the pain, but not the protection. That's why patience during trials is so powerful. It's a statement of faith that says, even when I don't see the wisdom, I know it's there. There's a certain kind of beauty that only pain can produce. The beauty of humility, of empathy, of sincerity in prayer. When you've cried at night and felt like no one understood, you begin to understand the pain of others more deeply. Your heart becomes softer, your soul becomes calmer, and your faith becomes more real. That's hidden mercy. Every hardship teaches you something the easy times never could. And when you finally come out of that dark phase, you'll look back and realize that the moments you thought would break you were the moments that actually built you. You'll see how every delay saved you, how every rejection redirected you, and how every closed door was protection from something unseen. The same tears that once burned your heart will now shine as reminders of your growth. That's the mercy, not in the comfort, but in the transformation that came through pain. If you're walking through a storm right now, remember that mercy is not always about stopping the rain. Sometimes it's about giving you shelter while it falls. You might not be able to see the purpose, but it's unfolding in ways beyond your understanding. The storm will pass, but you will not be the same. You'll be stronger, wiser, more at peace, and closer to the one who guided you through it. So, don't curse your trials, thank them. They're not here to destroy you. They're here to reveal you. The pain that brought you to your knees is the same pain that brought you closer to your Lord. Every hardship carries a hidden gift, a lesson, a strength, a deeper connection. You may not see it now, but one day you'll look back and realize that every wound was mercy in disguise. You'll understand that the most difficult moments were actually the ones that saved you, shaped you, and led you to a life far better than the one you once imagined. That is the hidden mercy in trials. They break you only to rebuild you into something more beautiful than before. There comes a point in every soul's journey when holding on becomes heavier than letting go. We cling to people, memories, and dreams that once gave us comfort, believing they are essential to who we are. But sometimes, the very things we're holding on to are what keep us from growing. Letting go is one of the hardest acts of faith, because it feels like loss, it feels like surrender. Yet, in truth, it is one of the most powerful forms of freedom. You cannot step into a new life while your hands are full of the old one. What was meant to stay would never need to be forced. What was meant to leave would never bring you peace if you tried to keep it. There's a sacred wisdom in release. The process isn't about forgetting or pretending the past never happened. It's about understanding that everything has a season. Every friendship, every opportunity, every chapter of your life serves a purpose. And when that purpose is fulfilled, it's meant to end. But endings scare us because they make us confront the unknown. We fear the emptiness that comes after letting go. We wonder if we'll ever find something as meaningful again. That's when faith must rise. Faith that what's coming will fill you more deeply than what's gone. Letting go is not weakness. It's not giving up. It's trusting that what's meant for you will never pass you by. It's realizing that peace doesn't come from holding tighter, but from surrendering to what's right. You see, the heart can become attached to people and things that no longer align with your purpose. And sometimes the Creator will remove them not to hurt you, but to heal you. He knows what you cannot see. He knows what would destroy your peace if you kept it. So when something leaves your life, a friend, a dream, a place, it's not rejection, it's redirection. It takes courage to unclench your hands and say, if it's meant for me, it will stay. The ego wants control. It wants to know how things will turn out, when the pain will stop, and what will come next. But the soul knows that letting go is an act of love for yourself. It's a sign that you trust in a greater plan, even when you don't understand it. You're choosing faith over fear, surrender over struggle. And in that surrender, you find peace that holding on could never give. You can't receive what's new if your heart is still tied to what's gone. Think of a tree in autumn. Its leaves fall, not because the tree dies, but because it's preparing for renewal. In the same way, the things you lose are often signs that new life is about to begin. The relationships that ended, the opportunities that faded, the plans that fell apart, they were part of your growth, not your forever. You learned what you needed, you gave what you could, and now it's time to move forward lighter, freer, and wiser. The pain of letting go doesn't mean you're weak. It means you loved deeply, cared genuinely, and hoped sincerely. It means you have a heart capable of connection, and that's a gift. But love also means knowing when to release what no longer serves your soul. You cannot heal while living in the memory of what was. You cannot build a future while holding on to the ruins of the past. The longer you hold on to something that's meant to end, the more it hurts. But the moment you let go, you create space for something better to enter. There's beauty in the breaking. There's strength in the silence that follows. When you finally let go of what's no longer yours, you make room for peace. You allow new doors to open, new people to enter, and new blessings to flow. What once felt like emptiness becomes expansion. What once felt like loss becomes liberation. So let go, not because you stopped caring, but because you're ready to trust. Let go of the bitterness, the regret, the what-ifs. Forgive what broke you, release what disappointed you, and surrender what's beyond your control. Every time you let go, you rise a little higher. Every time you release, you come closer to who you're meant to be. Remember this, you're not losing anything that was truly meant for you. You're only shedding what your soul has outgrown. The new life waiting for you cannot begin until you make space for it. And one day when you look back, you'll realize that letting go wasn't the end. It was the beginning of everything beautiful. There are moments in life when the path ahead feels uncertain, when you can't see where you're going, and every step feels heavy with doubt. You look around and everything seems unclear, unstable, and unpredictable. That's when fear begins to whisper. It tells you that you'll fail, that things will never work out, that you're alone in your struggle. It tells you to hold back, to stop trying, to give up before you even begin. But faith speaks a different language. It whispers, keep going. Trust the unseen, you're being guided, even when you don't understand. Choosing faith over fear isn't easy, but it's the only path that leads to peace. Fear thrives in uncertainty. It feeds on the things you cannot control. It convinces you that you need to have all the answers before you can move forward. But faith asks you to take the step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. It asks you to walk by trust, not by sight. Faith is not about knowing what's next. It's about believing that what's next is already known by the one who leads you. Every moment you choose faith over fear, you step closer to your destiny, even if you don't see it yet. When fear takes over, it creates a prison around your heart. It makes you replay every mistake, doubt every dream, and question every blessing. It makes you live in what-ifs. What if it doesn't work out? What if I lose everything? What if I fail? But faith changes the question. Faith says, what if it does work out? What if I'm being protected? What if this is leading me to something greater? Faith doesn't erase fear instantly. It just refuses to let fear be the driver of your life. Sometimes the Creator allows uncertainty not to scare you, but to strengthen your trust. If everything were predictable, faith would never grow. You would depend only on what you can see, instead of relying on the unseen. Life's most beautiful transformations often begin in the dark. In those moments when you have no clue what's coming next, but you keep walking anyway. That's faith. It's closing your eyes and saying, I may not know where this road leads, but I trust the one who placed me on it. Every test you face is an invitation to choose. Will you let fear control your steps, or will you let faith carry you forward? Fear makes you shrink. Faith makes you rise. Fear makes you doubt your worth. Faith reminds you that you are never forgotten, never alone, and never without purpose. Fear says, you can't handle this. Faith says, you were chosen for this. Fear focuses on the storm. Faith focuses on the one who can calm it. There will be days when fear feels louder than faith. That's normal. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. But even in those moments, remember that faith isn't the absence of fear. It's the courage to move forward despite it. The strongest people aren't those who never felt afraid. They're the ones who felt fear deeply and still took another step. Every time you choose to move in faith, even trembling, you grow stronger. Faith over fear means trusting in timing, even when delays hurt. It means believing that unanswered prayers are not ignored, but answered in ways you can't yet see. It means trusting that rejection is protection, that detours are direction, and that closed doors are divine redirections. You may not see how the pieces fit together now, but one day you'll look back and realize that the waiting, the pain, the uncertainty, it was all working together to create something beautiful. Faith doesn't always change your situation immediately, but it changes you. It replaces panic with peace, anxiety with acceptance, and confusion with calm. It reminds you that no matter how strong the storm, the one who controls it is stronger. When you truly believe that, fear loses its power. You stop needing to know how everything will work out and start trusting that it will. So when life feels unstable, breathe. When fear tells you to quit, whisper back, I trust the plan. You may not understand it now, but faith assures you that nothing is wasted. Not your tears, not your effort, not your patience. Everything is leading you somewhere, even the uncertainty. And when you finally arrive at the place you were meant to be, you'll realize that faith didn't just get you there. It shaped you along the way. Choosing faith over fear is not a one-time act. It's a daily decision. Every morning you rise and choose to trust again. Even after being disappointed, you're growing. Every time you smile through uncertainty, you're winning. Because the truth is, fear sees obstacles, but faith sees opportunities. Fear sees endings, but faith sees new beginnings. Fear sees darkness, but faith sees the dawn that's about to break. And no matter how long the night lasts, faith whispers, hold on, light is coming. There comes a time in every soul's journey when the noise of the world begins to fade and the whispers of truth grow louder. You start to question everything, your choices, your path, your purpose. The things that once excited you lose their glow, and the people you once followed no longer inspire you. It feels confusing at first, like you're losing your place in the world. But in reality, you're not losing anything. You're awakening. A spiritual awakening isn't a sudden burst of light. It's often born in the shadows, in those quiet, painful moments when your heart begins to seek something deeper than what the world can offer. It begins when you realize that happiness cannot be found in material things, in approval or in control. You begin to see that no matter how much you chase, you will always feel empty unless your soul is at peace. That's when the transformation starts. When you finally stop searching outside of yourself for what can only be found within. It's the moment your heart starts to remember that everything you've been looking for, peace, purpose, belonging, has always been there, waiting for you to return. Spiritual awakening often comes disguised as loss, disappointment, or loneliness. It's not a comfortable process. It's a breaking of illusions, of attachments, of false identities. You start to see that the things you once thought mattered so much were never really yours to begin with. People leave, plans fail, dreams shift, and though it hurts, it's all part of a divine cleansing. You're being stripped of everything that's not meant for your higher good. It feels like falling apart, but it's actually falling into alignment. During this awakening, you begin to sense that everything has meaning. Even the pain, even the silence. You start to trust the timing of your life, even when it doesn't make sense. You begin to see that nothing happens by accident, that every delay, every rejection, every heartbreak was a message, a call to return to your center, to your Creator. You start to feel things more deeply, to notice beauty in places you never saw before. The sunrise, the sound of the rain, the peace of solitude. Your heart becomes softer, your ego quieter, and your soul stronger. But make no mistake, awakening isn't always gentle. Sometimes it breaks you before it rebuilds you. It takes away your comfort so you can find truth. It isolates you so you can learn to stand with your faith alone. It humbles you so you can see how dependent you truly are on the one who never leaves. You'll cry, you'll question, you'll wrestle with yourself. But every tear, every question, every doubt is part of your rebirth. You're being reshaped, refined, and renewed from the inside out. You start to see people differently too. You stop chasing validation because you realize no one else can fill the space meant for divine peace. You stop holding grudges because you understand that forgiveness is freedom. You stop comparing your journey to others because you finally understand that every soul has its own timing, its own path, and its own lessons. The more you awaken, the more you value silence over noise, simplicity over chaos, truth over illusion. Spiritual awakening doesn't make life easier, it makes you wiser. You begin to recognize tests for what they are, not punishments, but invitations to grow. You learn to pause before reacting, to trust before panicking, and to surrender before resisting. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Teach me." That's when real transformation begins. When you stop running from life and start embracing it as it is, with all its pain and beauty intertwined. You'll notice peace returning to you slowly but surely. Not because your problems disappeared, but because your perspective changed. You've learned to see the divine hand in everything, in the delays that taught you patience, in the losses that taught you gratitude, and in the hardships that taught you strength. You realize that your journey was never about achieving perfection, it was about remembering who you are and who you belong to. This awakening is not the end. It's the beginning of your real life, the life where your faith becomes unshakable, your heart becomes grounded, and your soul finds its way home. The moment you awaken spiritually, you stop merely existing and start truly living. You no longer chase meaning, you embody it. You no longer beg for peace, you become it. And when that happens, you understand every tear, every trial, every dark night was never meant to break you. It was meant to wake you up to the truth that you were always being guided, always being loved, and always being moved toward the light. Every ending you've ever faced was not truly an ending. It was a turning point. Life has a way of closing doors that no longer lead anywhere, even when we try to force them open. You may look at your past and see loss, failure, or rejection, but from a higher view, those were the very moments that began your transformation. Every heartbreak, every goodbye, every shattered plan was quietly clearing the path for something new. You see, a new beginning doesn't always start with celebration. Sometimes it starts with tears, silence, and uncertainty. But within that stillness, a new life is waiting to emerge. One written perfectly for you, in ways you can't yet imagine. New beginnings often come disguised as endings. When something or someone leaves your life, it feels painful, confusing, and unfair, but it's only because you can't see the full story yet. The same way the night feels longest before dawn, your darkest moments often come just before renewal. You might not see it now, but everything that's being taken away is making room for something better. What's gone was necessary for your growth, but it's not meant for where you're going. You're being moved from what you've known into what you're meant to become. The truth is, every soul goes through a phase of breaking before rising. You may feel lost right now, but being lost is often how we find ourselves again. You may feel alone, but solitude is where your spirit learns to listen. You may feel like everything has stopped working, but perhaps it's because a new chapter is about to begin, one that aligns with your deepest purpose. Change never feels easy, but it's the soil in which miracles grow. New beginnings are born from faith. To start over, you have to trust the unseen. You have to believe that what's coming will heal what's been broken, that what's ahead will make sense of what's behind. This kind of faith is not blind, it's rooted in surrender. It's saying, I don't know what's next, but I trust that it's good for me. That's where peace begins. When you stop fighting the flow of life and start allowing it to carry you to where you're meant to be. Think about nature, how every season serves a purpose. The leaves that fall in autumn make room for spring's new growth. The earth rests in winter so it can bloom again in warmth. Your life follows the same rhythm. The things that have fallen away were never meant to stay forever. You're entering your own spring, your time of renewal, growth, and rebirth. But before anything new can grow, the old must be cleared away. That's why certain relationships end, certain plans fail, and certain dreams fade. It's not because you weren't enough. It's because you've outgrown them. A new beginning requires courage. It means walking away from what's familiar, even when it feels safe. It means trusting that the unknown is not empty. It's full of possibilities waiting for you to step into them. You may not have everything figured out, and that's okay. The path doesn't reveal itself all at once. It unfolds step by step as you move forward in faith. What matters most is that you keep going, no matter how uncertain, no matter how afraid. When you start to embrace this truth, you begin to see your past differently. You stop viewing it as a series of mistakes and start recognizing it as preparation. Every disappointment taught you something. Every delay strengthened your patience. Every closed door redirected you to something greater. The version of you that is emerging now carries wisdom, resilience, and grace that the old you didn't have. You are not starting from scratch. You are starting from experience. And one day soon, you'll look back and realize that the ending you once cried over was actually the beginning of everything you ever prayed for. You'll see how the heartbreak led to healing, how the loss led to growth, and how the waiting led to alignment. The new life that's unfolding for you may not look like what you imagined, but it will feel like peace. And that's how you'll know it's right. So don't be afraid of starting over. Don't fear the empty space where the old used to be. The emptiness isn't a void, it's an invitation. It's room for your blessings to arrive, for your purpose to take shape, for your soul to breathe freely again. Every sunrise brings a chance to begin anew, to rewrite your story, to step into who you were always meant to become. You're not at the end. You're standing at the edge of a beautiful beginning, a new life waiting to welcome you with open arms.